these tariffs that are happening right now and the tariffs that are on Chinese goods is absolutely going to cripple our business. I run an e-commerce brand called Canyon Pickleball. We sell pickleball paddles, and we have tried to have our paddles made here in the United States, but the costs have been just too high. So we do manufacture in China, and it's really hard.
Biggest lie right off the bat. Biggest lie right off the bat. Whenever I hear people try to lead with that, it's bull. It's absolutely nonsense. Let me tell you what really happened. Somebody put them on to the fact that they can get a cheap manufacturer over in China, rebrand, and then sell it over here in the United States of America, which give the Chinese jobs. It helps their economy. It helps their factories. It also helps take the air out of their real estate that is absolutely deflating. Nobody in China is really spending any money, and so the government is incentivized to export more to the United States of America. And so they look to people like him over here in the United States of America to manufacture, import their products, and then sell it to U.S. consumers. I hate it when people lie and say, no, and we look for a manufacturer in the United States of America. It's all nonsense. It's all a lie, y'all.
Because we don't really know what that's going to look like for us now with these tariffs, right? The volatility of how the tariffs have increased, it's at 125% now for China. And so we have a shipment of inventory that's being completed right now. And our manufacturer just messaged us and was like, what do you guys want to do? Because we have a lot of clients that are deciding not to move forward with their inventory orders because of the tariffs. And we are at a point where we have to continue this order because we need to sell these paddles. And it's just absolutely crippling for a business like ours because we're a small business. We're trying to get going. We're trying to ramp up. We want to do right. We want to produce here in the United States. The infrastructure is just not there for us to do it here. The price is just absorbently high. I don't even know if that was the right word. I probably said that wrong. But the prices are just too high. So we can't do it. And so quite frankly, I don't really know what we're going to do. I also just how are we supposed to plan our lives with our inventory and when we're purchasing? Because if the tariffs just go up and down and up and down, we can't budget accordingly because we don't know how much we're going to need to spend for the inventory and for the tariff once it gets to customs. It just sucks, man.
These people are traitors to the United States of America. And I don't blame them because it's easy for you to get somebody to trade against the entire country by dangling a couple carrots in front of their face and putting some money in their pocket. But what they're doing is effectively taking advantage of what people have been doing for the last 30 to 40 years. And that is making sure that we subsidize the Chinese economy by shipping cheap trash products over here in the United States of America, choosing not to do business and circulate your dollar in our own country. And it's the same as when you see black people say, well, black culture will never really survive because the dollar leaves out of their economy, it leaves out of their neighborhood within hours, but it circulates for days and even for weeks within other communities. It's the same thing except for you doing it on a national scale, you're doing it on an international scale. And so what they'll do is say, no, we tried. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. That's a lie. I can tell it's a lie. And the worst part about it is you see a lot of liberals and Democrats and they sitting here saying that, oh my God, we stand with China, we support China. What you don't know is and a lot of them are young, so you can't really, trip about it and hold it against them because they just stupid. They're young. They don't know any better. They haven't lived through a time where the majority of auto manufacturing jobs and manufacturing jobs in other places, like I remember Whirlpool manufacturing. I remember a lot of places. And growing up here in Detroit, I know that the rest of our jobs have left because we really had no industry. And that's the reason why we started to move towards, instead of politicians doing this years ago, because they knew that this was happening. Instead of us moving towards making sure that we nip this in the bud, what's happened is we basically expedited jobs and then we became a buyer economy, which is one of the reasons why we got all the leverage, because 40% of all of the world's goods is consumed by the United States of America, and that's why we are the most powerful country in the world. And so when you start to think about it, then China started to Once Trump got in office the first time, because he learned his lesson, because Biden came in and messed up everything that we had going on. So even when we had the tariffs on against China, all they did was use their leverage and bully the rest of the world to accept their products to then ship here to the United States of America. And so they had a little bit of a markup, but not really, but they destroyed the economies of the rest of the world. So what we've basically done was build up their economy, and then luckily they still became interdependent on us because we're the biggest carnivorous people in the world. We subsidized their economy, we built them up, but now they need us in order to trade. And so, what Trump has basically done is isolate China because the rest of the world chooses to do business with us instead of doing business with China because they don't get anything out of the relationship with China because China is effectively doing what they did to the United States of America on a smaller scale to the rest of the world and basically killing their economy, killing their jobs. And so, what the rest of the world has done, because China has reached out to places like Australia and said, hey guys, we need to stand up against the United States of America. Australia said, nah, we're going to go ahead and negotiate with Trump, get this lesser tariff, because we know that we still benefit significantly by doing business with the United States of America. And Trump has effectively done what he's always done, and he's isolated the weak actor so that he can then make sure that he get them in line, because this is really a tariff war against China. It's not even against the rest of the world, right? Of course, we got some bad actors. Of course, we got jobs leaving. Of course, we see other countries as using us and us pouring money into things that didn't really matter. China is the biggest offender of the WTO, the World Trade Organization, and that they are bad actors. You can't litigate against them. They take your proprietary technology, your R&D, and then they steal whatever it is that you built. They do it at a lower cost because they basically subsidizing their jobs, and then they export it to the rest of the world, trash products, and they kill economies. And so what Trump has done is now basically isolate them by themselves by doing business with everybody else. He effectively pulled the rug from under them, baited and goaded them, and now they are suffering. And if you actually go and read some of these international research organizations, if you go and read the news internationally and things like that, because over in China, what they also do is they censor everything that goes out, so they try to paint a rosier picture than what people are really doing. But manufacturers are basically suffering, shutting down because they cannot pilfer. They've been doing knockoffs, pilfering, and not just on products like handbags and stuff, on everything. You put all of your research and development into products, and then they steal it within 2 weeks, manufacturing at a cheaper price because they never had to do any research and development, never had to hire any engineers, never had to do anything. They steal it and then send it back over to you at a cheaper price at the same time, most of the time, putting you out of business. And so now you wasn't able to litigate against them. You couldn't even open up a business over there in order to sue them. In order to get business over there, you had to basically become a 49% partner. You had to give your business 51% of your business over there in order to do business. And they've been bad actors as long as they've been in the World Trade Organization. And it's been absolutely disastrous for the rest of the world while building up their economy. So when I see people like him, this guy right here, say that, oh my God, I can't believe it, it's because they'd rather do business and enrich themselves at the behest of everybody else, and they don't care about anything except for themselves. Similarly to how they've been incentivized to do when doing business with people like China. Find an American manufacturer or go and get a job or go and figure out how to create another business model, because that is no longer going to fly. We are no longer going to trade against ourselves, and we are no longer going to decimate our economy and our future prospects for the people that's coming after us just because we're not willing to do the right thing. That is the truth. That's the honest to God truth. We're going to talk about it today. Make sure you hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Teej Hanley, 40% off your first order plus 20% off for life. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm going to holler at you guys later. Let me know what y'all think inside of the chat.